Hello everybody, so today I'm going to be doing Guardian build. Guardian is unfortunately one of the weaker classes in the game. All his build options are just unfortunately outdone by being a different class. That's not to say he's like weak per se, he can still do some work, but unfortunately yeah, the others just do it better. The other problem is all the perks that you have don't really synergize amazingly with each other. You have one or two perks that will work in synergy, and then every other perk just kind of, you try and bolt it on the side, but it's not really working as much as you'd like with it. On top of all those negatives, a lot of his perks also just don't do as much as the other classes perks do. Just the damage and overall bonuses he gets from them are just lower numbers in general, but we'll see what we can do. Because we're trying to force a heavy weapon, I'm going to do the thing that I'd always recommend against, and that's using a reroll on my first upgrade. And the main reason we're doing that is because strong arm, 15% increased weapon damage on heavy weapons and movement penalty reduction, is probably the strongest thing that Guardian gets in his kit. And it's an upgrade, not a perk. That's unfortunately the state of the Guardian. Now, my commentary during this run is going to be lacking, and I apologise that I cannot produce the quality that I'd like to. But I've actually done this run. This is going to be the fourth time now that I'm doing this run. The first time the recording didn't work. The second time I died because I basically, I'm not going to lie, I died of boredom. I wasn't paying enough attention and I got myself into a silly situation. Third time I died, I tried a slightly different variation on the build and it just didn't work and it wasn't strong enough. This build also highly relies on stone block. So if I don't get stone block, the damage and DPS overall that I'm doing is so much lower that it's actually quite a difficult build to use. So that being said, what we're going to be doing is a heavy weapon explosive auto crit build. So lucky ammo is a really good first pick here. Now it's not going to be helping much with our current setup, but we're picking up now for later basically. We want to be able to get its upgrade early, which is why we take it now, rather than rolling something else and taking it later. Because one of the upgrades gives your melee attacks and your explosive damage a flat 20% chance of critting, which is huge numbers. If you get something like that on a well-rolled mortar or rocket launcher or ice cannon, then you're laughing. Bearing in mind you can roll lucky on those so that they already get 20%, so you're instantly on 40%, and then the perk itself is giving you 25% while you have your passive on your Guardian. The Guardian passive, if you don't know it, it gives you increased damage for the first 33% of your clip. And you'll see down there next to my ammo there's a little star that shows when it's active and when it's not. So at the moment I have 25% crit chance for the first 33% of my ammo, or first 33% of my clip or charge. Now overall it's only a 15% damage increase, 25% auto crit chance, both of which are decent numbers, but because it's only 33%, the actual number you're getting feels quite lacking. That being said, we will be taking one of the perks. I don't actually like the perk overall, but it just enables this build to be a bit more user friendly, so that it works on the top 50% of your clip instead. The other benefit of that perk is it also synergizes with lock and load, because they both have an upgrade that will increase your rate of fire when you're at a certain threshold of your gun on your clip. so you can reach quite high fire rates as well. Okay, so we've got curry paste, which is the crit chance, which again, at the moment with this weapon, we're not getting much benefit of it. But once the build gets rolling and we get a different weapon, it should start to be apparent why I like it so much. The build variant I was trying, I'm fairly sure it's just flat weaker. There might be some Guardian pros out there who disagree, and if they can show proof and numbers, I would be really appreciative, because we don't really have any Guardian specialists in the main Roboquest Discord, so it doesn't really get talked about much. So it'd be pretty cool if you speak up, Guardian players, come on. We won't hate on you. Sure, we think it's a boring character to play, but you don't have to. And with your help, maybe we can find a way of making it fun. But anyway, bullshit aside, I hate those. It's so difficult to get a proper rocket jump off them because they're actual great. But yeah, sorry, tangent. So the build I was trying was to utilise the stim bubble and solar panels so that you can get high fire rates when your stim bubble is up, and refreshing your shield often, so utilising those two. It's strong combo and it is good, don't get me wrong, it just doesn't suit my play style, and I often find myself just cycling my abilities wrong and taking damage when I shouldn't be. So we are going to have to burn 2 rerolls to get anything that we want. And we do want both of these, and unfortunately they've shown up at the same time. I prefer lock and load personally, just because my better half doesn't have good upgrades and is a bit lackluster. And the main reason we want my better half is just to enable our lucky crits. So it's a shame that we have to take a whole perk just to enable it for one function. But that is the nature of Guardian at the moment. For him to be a viable character, you basically need to take a dead perk for one of the upgrades, one of the bonuses it gives, which is unlike any of the other characters. All the other characters, the perks just enhance the character. This perk just makes the character basically feel like what it should have been as default. So as you can see, we're getting a decent number of auto crits now, and 150 damage a shot isn't bad. Downside of this, as I said at the start of the video, there are, for every build that you can do on the Guardian, there's just a better version on another character. So this version of the build that I'm doing now is basically just a stronger version on Commando. He doesn't get quite as much attack speed, I guess, but he gets more damage bonuses. He gets more perks that synergize with explosives, and he can insta-reload every time he has to reload, rather than having to take DPS loss to actually reload. Then if it's, well, the auto crits. Ranger is the king of auto crits. Like, no one's going to get a better auto crit build than him realistically. Not in sheer number wise, like he can just get the highest crit chance there is. Some of the builds might out damage him, like Recon might get a few gun builds that are actually better than Rangers, but for the core function of actual crits, yeah, it's rare that you're going to beat the Ranger. And then for the elemental builds that you can do on Guardian, they're just 1,000 times worse than Engineers. and his melee build is just, yeah, miles weaker than the rangers, which I'm sure you all know. I'm slowly whittling it down. Not a great boss for the weapon that we've got, and our boss damage in general on this kind of build is always going to be pretty low. But that is Guardian for you, as I'm going to keep saying in this video. Like, we're actually doing such little damage that he managed to get enraged, which is horrendous. We got strong arm. We do really need infinite mag, but strong arm is ridiculously strong, but it's just, it would be dumb to turn it down. We really need stone block, please. So again, minigun is fine on a heavy build. It would be a cool pickup, but this build specifically revolves around using explosives, and because of that, anything that isn't explosive is just 20% less crit chance, so just going to be doing less damage. Well, maybe not even doing less damage, but it's basically meaning we're wasting a perk if we take it. And in a build like this, normally weapon swapping is a very strong option, but because we have lock and load, we actually want to reload. This issue will kind of decrease a little bit if we manage to get the hand grippers or whatever, that massively decrease reload time if you reach the end of your clip. But yeah, this build revolves a lot around items more than it does even perks, which is kind of funny because they're even more RNG related, so it's such a shame that we have to linchpin so hard off specific items. Our damage feels ridiculously low considering we have 2 perks and we're on a decent heavy weapon. But we don't actually strictly have any damage buffs at the moment. We've got crit damage bonus of 10%, which is nothing. We've got fire rate increase, which is increasing our DPS but not increasing our overall individual damage. And because we have to reload so often, because we've got increased fire rate, then it doesn't feel as like we're doing much because we're constantly reloading. Which is a core issue of like fire rate builds. They don't stack damage, and they do basically stack just being forced to be reloading non-stop. I do want to make a build around the ball cannon at some stage, but I do feel like when I do that it's going to be rehashing probably the commando heavy weapon build that I've showcased before, although that was explosive again, so I don't know, it depends what you guys think would be more interesting to watch. Do you mind watching kind of the same perks being played but different weapons, or do you want me to always be focusing different perks or different builds? The future of content is kind of in your hands. I don't mind making content, but I want to know what you guys want to see. What do you find interesting? Because I really struggle to find ideas of what you guys want to see. A, because I'm not you guys, and what I find interesting, what you find different, what you find interesting are going to be different. And B, I don't actually enjoy watching Roboquest content all that much, unless it's speed runs or a handful of players that I know. Yeah, I just find the content itself just because I've played it so much and it's so different from how I play it, I find it actually quite frustrating. So yeah, I need to know what content you guys want to see, because I don't really feel like rehashing similar builds over and over again, or just me playing Hero 6 is going to be that interesting. But if that's what you guys want to see, then I'm more than happy just to hammer out Hero 6 runs, because I can do that all day. My commentary's not great, because I'm not used to just speaking to myself. I'm not on the ADHD spectrum really, so I can't just whittle away non-stop. Which sounds like I'm being abusive towards ADHD. I'm not. It's something that I wish I could do. The main issue with these commentary videos is when you get situations like this where I've done commentary several runs in a row that just have unfortunately failed, I then just run out of things to say. And we're not getting interesting weapons, and we're not getting interesting items in this run. At the moment it's almost as if I was just doing an ice cannon without any perks, in all honesty. That's how much I feel like the perks are benefiting me. No items again. I'm actually going to take Atomic Mushroom. I would normally... Atomic Mushroom's an item that I used to religiously take, because it's just flat damage increase, which is really good. But I've been liking the AoE damage a lot more, and decreasing the size of the explosion by 25% feels quite annoying, especially if I get a perfume proc as well, so my explosions are really small. But because this build is so lackluster on damage anyway, already, I feel like it's probably need to take it just so I can actually kill anything. I'm so glad he was cryoed, because he would have been doing so much damage to me without being cryoed, because my damage is so low I can't spike him down quickly. And those are one of the scariest elites when buffed, because their 3 shots that they do are so difficult to dodge, and then they teleport constantly, so they're hard to DPS. Like you can see, we're only doing like 230, 200s on crits, which is like the Ranger can do that at the base pistol at the start of the game almost. It's ridiculous. We'll take Jackpot. So 15% chance of our crits being actually decent damage. I was lying about the Ranger there, by the way. He can't do quite that much damage, but he can basically hit crits of 400 with his javelins by the end of the first map. Life Jacket would be an okay damage buff. We actually have Aftershock, which would be good if we could pick up a shock weapon. Let's take this mortar and see if we can roll it into shock at a later date. The mortar, as you can see, does do a lot more DPS than the ice cannon. The ice cannon's just a kind of nice consistent damage, easy to aim, easy to shoot, just consistent, but the damage is never particularly high. But the explosives on it, and the AoE is really big, which helps. It's got the same explosion radius as the mortar, so it's just decent at dealing with multiple targets, but a single target damage is abysmal. Meleeing down some of the flying bots, because anyone who's tried to use mortar will know that it's a pain in the ass to consistently hit flying bots, especially when you're tired like I am. I just had a horrible feeling that I didn't press record at the start of this. I really hope I did. If I didn't, you guys won't hear this message. If I did, then you get to laugh at me thinking the next few seconds that I'm not recording. And we're checking. Hey, I did hit record. Sweet. We're still getting fuck all items. Excuse the language. RNG is not being kind this run. Don't think I had anywhere that I could re-roll this mortar either. So I've actually been, throughout this whole run, I've been missing out on basically 20% damage because I've been using ice cannon and I haven't been using a shock weapon. Which is kind of funny. Luckily it's not bitten me in the ass for being stunned or anything. One cool thing with the mortar is you can actually completely miss railbots. That's a really sweet thing about the mortar, that is the main reason I use it. It's a broken mechanic. No, yeah, with the mortar you can cancel the reload animation as soon as you see the ammo appear in the bottom right, which is pretty sweet. Crazy Fog is a really quite bad perk. I really take it if I've got no other option. Gun Diet here is what we were talking about earlier with Lock and Load and Better Half. They both get a similar perk to this. This just yeah, gives us a load of shot speed, which is really nice. Unfortunately, unless my understanding of the mechanic is wrong, it states below 50%, and the Guardian's passive is while above over the first 33%, so you're not getting the damage bonus for the attack speed section of this perk, which is again is like an unfortunate area where it's just not really synergizing. I understand why they've done it. It's so that it's like, well, you don't have the damage bonus, so we have an attack speed bonus, so you have 50% of your clip you have more damage, and then the other 50% you have more attack speed, so it works out. Which, yeah, that in a vacuum, that understanding works. But unfortunately the game is kind of made around you stacking your perks and synergizing, and if they let us synergize that attack speed with the damage buff, then you would be able to synergize the stim bubble with that attack speed and that damage buff and actually have a really good combo. But yeah, it's still good and it still works fine. It's just unfortunate that it's like covering up a weakness of a particular perk or passive rather than building on the strength of it. Because there's multiple different ways of staying at high clip on the Guardian, so if it did work that way then it wouldn't be too negative. Yes, you'd have to build around it, but that's kind of the point of a build. The other downside at the moment with some of the Guardian options is he has a perk which in reality sounds like it'd be really nice, but in practice doesn't really work out all that well. I think it's Tactical Slap. It reloads your weapon when you hit an enemy with a buffed melee attack every 6 seconds. So it instantly reloads your weapon for you, which is awesome. And if it worked the same way as the Recon's reload on his dash, where that will trigger lock and load, then it'd be amazing. But unfortunately, because lock and load is a new perk and the Guardian's tactical slap is an old perk, they are not currently programmed to synergize with each other. Which is a shame. I'm sure it's not intentional, and I'm sure it'll be fixed, or the Recon's one will be nerfed so that it works as intended, because one of them isn't working as intended at the moment. Now we have to deal with infinite number of flying enemies while we use a mortar. So there's the tactical slap. We didn't really get a perk that we wanted here. We realistically would want Quadrinity or something like that. So we're just going to take close quarters. It's a solid 35% damage buff. I actually detest this perk and I wouldn't take it generally, but we're showcasing a build and it is an option. Some people like it, some people would take it. It's just a playstyle preference thing for me, and I'm not convinced the numbers work out properly with it. Damage bonus you get from it just isn't as good as some other perks that state a lower number. Flying enemies everywhere. It's like the game knows I'm using a mortar. As you can see though, we're at max stacks. We've got all the perks which should realistically be synergizing with each other, and our damage still just feels really lackluster. Like, it's not that much more damage, or it doesn't feel like that much more damage than basically if we were perkless. It's such a shame. And it wouldn't be this way, I'd point out, if I'd managed to get Stone Block. If I got Stone Block, you would be seeing such difference here, because Stone Block is such a strong item, but it has such strong negatives as well, and this build counters those negatives so efficiently that it's beautiful. But unfortunately, I just realised I missed the shop down here, so I'm just going to go quickly grab that, because there is a chance there's a Stone Block in here. Yeah, it just unfortunately isn't scaling in the way that we need it to. Finally got Hand Gripper, got drums as well, even though we're not using shock, even though I should have rolled into shock but forgot. That's part of being tired. So we're losing damage there. Like, we should be doing 20% more damage because of Arty Shock, and should be doing more AoE as well. I guess I could have taken Elemental Weapon in that last perk if I'd thought about the fact we had Arc Shake. That would have been an acceptable option. So now we've got the infinite ammo, which actually gives a fairly good damage buff for 1.5 seconds. Just holding down the fire button. Yeah, it's like an extra 2-3 shots that you get out of the clip, basically. Okay, stone block, please. I didn't want to hit that rail. Oh, the reason I've not been re-rolling is I don't have the cells to re-roll. So yeah, I've misplayed there. I should realistically have taken into account my items and used elemental weapon. It's not something I'd normally suggest as part of this build. So because of that, I'm not too upset that I didn't take it, because this is a build showcase and not an item showcase, despite the fact that this build revolves around getting stone block, but ignore that. One more cross section to do, and then the last area. So we still have technically 3 more areas to get the stone block. Not holding out much hope, and I just realised I've got S, so there's no point to kill those elites. And we do not get stone block. Hey, we got Ricochet Shock. That would have been great 3 levels ago, but there you go. So yeah, this run, I want to apologise. This run hasn't been up to the same kind of standard that I'd normally do. The commentary hasn't been great, and that's my fault because I'm tired and because I've had to do this run so many times and say the same thing over and over again. So for that I do want to apologise. We're going to take black powder here. We had the option for 10% more crit chance, or we had the option for increased damage while we're airborne by 10%. Now the problem with that is that 10% increased airborne damage is the same damage bonus as we get just for using explosive weapon with the black powder option that we took. And we don't have to be jumping in order to get that damage bonus, so it's just better to take the black powder in that situation, and we get larger explosions if we take black powder. And then it's kind of a similar reason that we didn't take the crit chance. That would be a 10% chance to do 25% more damage, or we have a 100% chance of doing 10% more damage. So in 4 attacks, you're just gonna, I was gonna try and do a mathematical thing there, but I'm far too fucking tired. I was gonna say 4 attacks because it's 25% damage increase, but that doesn't even work out because it's 10%. In 10 attacks you're gonna get 25% damage increase, where with this option in 10 attacks you get 100% damage increase, so 75% damage increase overall. On average. Now, does the math always work out like that? No. Is it a little bit skewed because I already have 40 plus crit chance for most of the time? Yes. Do I still stand by my option though? Yes. So otherwise I wouldn't have picked it. Hey look, we've got a paintbrush. That's definitely more useful for this build than a stone block would have been. I really wish I could be showcasing stone block for you guys because it's ridiculously strong in this build. Like, it turns the build into a really lackluster snooze fest into what feels like a ridiculously overpowered strong build. And the annoying thing is the run that didn't record had stone block. Right then, just clearing up the last areas. Wow, I missed as many melee attacks on that flying guy as I missed mortar shots. Okay, so just going to take bottom pack just for more attack speed. Same reason we're not taking crazy frogs before. Size matters would be good if we were using a gun that had a bigger clip, but in this case it's kind of pointless. Marking is really nice and it's a good damage bonus, but I just can't be asked at the moment. I'm too tired to play like that, so we're just going to try and get a consistent boss fight and hope that the mark damage doesn't really matter. Upgrade this to max so we've got an alternative damage option and see how it goes. Uncle Jim's actually kind of a bit of a pain in the ass to fight, unless you have a ridiculously strong build, because he does actually chunk your health if you don't have a high enough DPS build, and he starts hitting you. And then of course you've got the arena to contend with, which is a pain in the ass and limits your ability to get the DPS down. But luckily we're getting some nice crits and we're using shock, so we're able to mitigate his damage options as well, and that is a win. Took almost half an hour because Guardian be weak. Basically, if we got stone block, I'm not even joking, that would have been a 19-minute run with a good stone block early on, because that's how strong this build is with stone block. But thank you very much for watching. Sorry guys, it's not up to the kind of standards that I would normally want to put out. It's not an amazingly strong build and the commentary was kind of awful. Let me know what kind of video you want to see next. If you want to see more gameplay videos, like not like this, if you want to see gameplay videos better than this, build videos. Do you want to see repeat of builds? If you don't mind seeing repeat of builds, as long as it's different weapons, different styles, let me know what you think and we can work together. Cheers guys, peace out.